I'm a professional renter. I have over 58 apartments that I pay for with a monthly rent of over $90,000. Yeah, I'm gonna give you 5 ways that you can get approved for an apartment so that way you can move in or run a business like mine. Let's jump right in. Alright, welcome back Airbnb family. So rental arbitrage is my game, and of course number 1 is you got to get approved. If you can't get approved for an apartment, you can't live there and you can't run your business there. This video is more general because if you're looking to move into a place, this is what you can do. Actually, the secret is I had to figure out how to rent creatively because I got evicted in 2009 and I needed a place to put employees in 2010. So that's kind of where we're at. So let's talk about a couple ways you can get approved personally, and then we're going to talk about getting approved as a company, which is kind of a hack for if you've had, like if you have an eviction on your record, for example. So number 1, when you go to apply for a place, they're going to want proof of income, right? And they're going to want to make sure that you don't have a criminal record. Those are basically the 2 things. We're not going to talk about criminal record here. We're going to talk about income. So you can either show check stubs, like a W-2 that you make more than 3.5 times the rent typically, and if you can't provide a W-2 income, you can provide your bank statements, and so that's another way. So instead of just your typical apply, show your check stubs, you can print off 4 months of bank statements and show that you make more than 3.5x or 4x of the rent over 4 months or 6 months. And a hack for this is you and your friends can Venmo each other money every day if you want, right? And so over the course of a few months, if you're looking to apply for a place and you're worried about getting approved on cash flow, you can just Venmo in and out money through your accounts and you can make it look like you make 5x the rent if you want to play that game, and you can. It'll work. So there's that. So let's say both of those don't work, right? You don't have a W-2 statement that proves that you have the money. You don't have enough cash or cash flow over 4 or 6 months. You can do a handshake agreement. Now, a bigger apartment complexes, this won't work, but with smaller landlords who have like 4 unit or 8 units, you can do a handshake agreement where you're like, hey, I'll just give you an extra month of rent on the back end, right? So I did this once. I gave a landlord, of course, my first month's rent and deposit, but then I paid the last 2 months of rent as well. So that way, essentially, if I defaulted on any month of rent, he had my deposit and 2 months of rent. So by the time he would have had to evict me, he would not have lost any money. So I'm pretty much guaranteed that he's not going to lose money even if I default. So that's kind of how a handshake agreement could work. Now, let's say that you can't make that work personally, right? The other option, now this is my specialty, is rental arbitrage through a business. So you form an LLC, and it costs a few $100s to do in Texas. Other states are more or less. And you go to the IRS website, irs.gov, and once you have your LLC documents, you create an EIN number. And when I did this in 2010, I got approved for a lease 2 days after I did this because I had an eviction on my record. So I applied as the LLC, but then showed those bank statements I just told you about. I showed those bank statements and I got approved 2 days after my business was formed. It was just that fast. Now, if you cannot prove cash flow for your LLC, I've got approved at another building where I gave them LLC documentation for an LLC that I just formed and I parked, and we never did anything with it, no bank accounts, and they asked me to give references. So a company called Yardie Pro does screening for apartments in Dallas. There's also Yardie, RealPage, OneSite. There's a lot of companies that do these screenings for apartment complexes, but Yardie Pro has this little gap in their game where you give them essentially, you just give them references. They'll call on your references, so give them like 5, and they're gonna try to contact 3 of them. And if those references say that you've been in business for a couple years and you've done business with them and you've never been late on your debt or payments or anything like that, they'll approve you without any other proof as an LLC with no cash flow. And so I got into a high-rise in downtown Dallas with nothing but an LLC. So those are the 5 ways that you can get into an apartment pretty much today if you're looking to get approved for a place. And of course, this is one big step to doing what we do here on this channel, which is rental arbitrage, where I take 55 of my apartments and I flip them, and we make about $2 million a year on Airbnb. So with that said, thank you for watching Airbnb Automated. Like this video, share it with your friends if they're looking to move in somewhere, and I will see you on the other side.